And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on this Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. And the outlook is going to be for Thursday into Friday. The big weather story is a stronger Bering Sea low that's going to bring stormier conditions along the west coast. This gale force low will bring some higher surf, potential for some minor coastal flooding in some of the bays as a result of strong south-southwest winds that could even gust at some of the points up to storm force. Areas further inland will enjoy another pretty decent day Thursday as a result of high pressure that's up into the Gulf. This high pressure ridge is going to move eastward, so that's going to allow the Panhandle to enjoy more in the way of clearer skies and warmer temperatures Thursday and for Friday. Now, this system will be tracking from the central Bering. It's going to be crossing the central Aleutians this Wednesday afternoon, and then by Thursday morning just east of St. Matthew, and then passing near or just west of Nome early Friday morning. So taking a track like that, that's going to spread some strong winds along the southwest coast, YK deltas, as well as the Seward Peninsula. And this is going to be a pretty prolific rainmaker. It's one of two systems. If that isn't enough, there's another low coming out of the Bering that will impact areas of the west coast on Saturday and Sunday. So between those two systems, some of these coastal areas and inland from there could see as 1 to 3 inches of rain, locally 4 inches, where you have that terrain enhancement with a southwest wind. Back for the day, as we look in the interior Thursday afternoon, warmer temperatures anticipated. Some areas will be getting back up above 70 there for Thursday afternoon in the east central interior. Maybe a few isolated 70-degree readings in the Panhandle as well. But along the west coast, and as the front and moisture creeps northeastward, we'll see IFR conditions along the western Gulf, just off the Kenai coast through Kodiak Island. And then Friday morning, as that low gets on up here near and just west of Nome, widespread IFR conditions all along the entire west coast, windy conditions in areas, along with the system's warm enough that mainly rain will be falling with it, and moderate to locally heavy rain will continue into the day on Friday. The system, though, will begin to spread inland eastward, and as it does so, winds are going to pick up here in the interior, the Alaska range. We have wind advisories in effect for Thursday afternoon into Friday, and there'll be some stronger gusty winds here across the central interior as we go through late in the day Thursday and especially into Friday. So Friday afternoon, we anticipate some MVFR conditions, breezier conditions here in the central interior and especially south side of the Brooks Range as the initial inroads of that system work their way inland. In the wake, we have IFR conditions, old frontal boundary here across the northern Gulf Coast, central Gulf, also still lingering along the southwest coast, the YK Delta into Bristol Bay, and then out across the eastern half of the Aleutians. And as I mentioned, there's going to be another low coming up through similar track for Saturday into Sunday that'll bring another round of wind and moderate to locally heavy rains along much of the west coast. So past conditions Thursday up there, the east central Brooks Range, Anatuvik Pass. Generally, there's a sliver of MVFR conditions, and with southerly flow increasing, you get that air upslope glide will tend to keep some MVFR conditions, a few lower ceilings, and some clouds lingering in through the immediate passes. Either side of Anatuvik or Adigan Pass should generally see VFR conditions. It's just getting up through that pass. And then for Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR conditions will become MVFR as moisture increases. From the southwest, cloud cover will be increasing, ceilings starting to lower. And Rainy Pass, VFR becoming MVFR on Thursday. Windy also VFR becoming MVFR. Further east in the Alaska range, so you're going to have, again, turbulent conditions potentially around the ridgelines and peaks there. Isabel Pass to the east, VFR, as will Mentasta Pass be VFR. Copper River Basin, VFR. Tanita Pass. Portage Pass, the eastern half into the Prince William Sound area will be MVFR, but on the west entrance, generally remaining VFR during the day on Thursday. And then finally in the Panhandle, Chilkoot and White, VFR conditions expected Thursday, as with that ridge of high pressure starting to have more influence. Some pretty nice weather there through a good portion of the Panhandle Thursday and Friday. So freezing levels aloft. We are finding, with that Bering low that's here in the central Bering taking a track like this ahead of it, We find a dome of warmer air aloft 10,000 feet into the southwest coast inside of Bristol Bay, 12,000 feet plus through the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians, and then 14,000 feet just south of the central Aleutians. Lowest freezing levels aloft are around 2,000 feet along the immediate northwest Arctic coast in the vicinity of Point Ley and Wainwright. And then you get back into eastern Russia. Temperatures at the surface are below freezing there on Thursday morning. So quite a slug of moisture coming in around this area of low pressure. Because this is a relatively milder system, the likelihood of moderate icing will be higher up the further south you go. So areas south side of the Brooks Range, central northern Seward Peninsula above 6,000 feet, you can encounter moderate icing. And as we drop down through the mainland above 10,000 feet, southwest interior, here the YK deltas and above 12,000 feet as we get along the southwest coast from lower Kuskokwim Bay to Bristol Bay and into the central part of the Alaska Peninsula. Here's the jet stream pattern. There's the ridging coming up from the North Pacific up into the south central and eastern mainland. And here's the trough associated with that low pressure. You see the jet stream pattern aloft, 2 jet cores, one up 110 knots there along the Arctic coast, another one out here over the central Bering north of the Aleutians. At 700 millibars, 9,000 feet, we can see the mid-level circulation. Here's the low center, broad belt of strong winds, 50 to as high as 70 knots within a broad area over southwest Alaska, the Alaska Peninsula, southeast portion of the Bering. And then bringing it down to 3,000 feet, we're looking at areas of winds, in the order of 45 to as high as 60, 65 knots. But again, the same areas, southwest mainland, Bristol Bay, southeast corner there of the Bering Sea, extending down along the Alaska Peninsula. So with this kind of configuration, these fronts moving in, very turbulent. In fact, I didn't draw it in here, but there'll be areas of severe turbulence likely embedded within this area of the southwest mainland on Thursday. And we're finding too, with those fronts, there could be some low-level wind shear as the occluded front works its way inland, so keep that in mind as well. But very turbulent across the west and southwest mainland, Alaska Peninsula, extending up even into Cook Inlet, west side of the Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and trailing back down across the eastern Aleutians.